They have made us laugh, they have made us dance, they have made us cry, and they have given us pleasure for many decades. This is a family in the life of India that needs absolutely no introduction, no matter how cliched that phrase is. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the Kapoors of Bollywood, speaking to Tarun Tejpal.
कि अपने जवानी में मैं खतरनाक किस्म का हैंडसम था।
Come on, what's up with you guys, यार? Who cares कल क्या होगा? As long as we can have some fun.
So it's a great relief at the end of a long day to have a panel that you don't really need to introduce, as Shoma said. The sum of any introduction would be less than the parts, always, with the Kapoors. They've finally given me a bad mic, I guess, yeah. Is that better? Somebody will have to pick that up at the end. Is that better? Okay, we're not going to waste time on long introductions because you guys know more about all three of them than I can actually reel out right now. I'm going to go straight to Rishi. He's the big star of my generation, along with his wife Neetu Singh, of course. And the first question to Rishi, obviously, is what is the meaning of the Kapoor legacy? And when I say that, I mean it less in relation to Ranbir and Karishma here, and more in relation to Raj and Prithvi, especially to Raj Kapoor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. At the very onset, I would like to say that it's a coincidence that today is the 106th birth anniversary of my late grandfather, Shri Prithvi Raj Kapoor. Born on 3rd of November, 1906. I'm sure he would be very proud that his great-grandchildren share the stage with his grandson. I'm also very happy to say, when you ask a question about the legacy of Kapoors, we are going to be celebrating 100 years of Indian cinema. And I'm very proud to tell you this, that the Kapoor contribution to those 100 years has been 84 years. My grandfather, year 1928, did a bit role in those days, silent films. Of course, he was part of the first talkie as well. He was not the lead, but he was part of it. But we have been, ever since, been serving the Indian audiences, the world audience. We are very happy about that.
Rishi, you in particular, in my opinion, are a key transitional figure. There's the dominance of Prithvi Raj and the emergence of Prithvi Raj. There is the absolute splendor of Raj Kapoor, who in my opinion is by far the greatest of all of you. And I'm sure Rishi would agree, and so would the other, both of them here. We've all been shaped in some way or the other, even though we came half a generation later by Raj Kapoor cinema. And then there's your generation. Raj's generation has three stars. It has Raj Kapoor, it has Shami Kapoor, and it has Shashi. All three sons of Raj Kapoor end up as big stars. Then, in your generation, Ranbir Kapoor is there for some time, and then there isn't. You become a transitional figure in the sense that you do carry forward the legacy. It can often snap. We have, in all professions, all vocations, there are families whose legacies extend to two generations. It's very routine. And there's actually a whole economic theory on that. There's a first generation, a second, and it ends by the third generation. In that sense, you as the third generation somehow end up creating a very solid and splendid career for yourself, which still goes on. And I have to say, the last film of yours that I saw, you were absolutely outstanding in.
You're very good for my morale, I tell you.
It's exactly what I'm here for. This is that kind of session. But when you look at your own career, it's hugely reduced from the career of your father in a kind of way. Your father was a writer, virtually a composer, a director, and the actor. Did you never feel the need to do anything more than just be an actor?
I'll go back a little. My grandfather started off mostly when in India they made mythologicals. Way back in 30s, 40s, till about late the 30s. And they were employed by the studios, so they had a monthly stipend, so there was no need for any insecurity. When my father became a hero, India had just got its independence. We were a very young nation. India was a young nation, and there were a lot of problems. The youth was absolutely directionless. So there were very many stories to say. There were very many stories to say. The youth had a lot of problems. So thereby, there were stories where Raj Kapoor, Dilip Kumar, Dev Anand, Balraj Sahni, Ashok Kumar, mostly all of the actors of that period worked in a lot of stories. When I became an actor, believe you me, at any given point of time, my colleagues and myself had 3 to 4 films based only on lost and found. कि बच्चे beginning में बिछड़ जाते हैं और climax में गाना गाते हुए मिल जाते हैं. That used to be the story formula. Sorry, Javed Sahab, not for all, but mostly the cinema which I did. But having said that, I would like to say that, not because he's my son or she's my niece, this generation has a little tough. Mainly because I think there's so much of competition, there's so much of information available, satellite, cable, internet. There's so much of, you have world cinema compete against you. So you have to choose your stories. You know exactly what you have to do and what you want to do. In our time, we never had these opportunities. You can make better cinema now. They are making better cinema. Or these kids are doing good cinema. I'm proud to say that. We never had those opportunities in our times.
No, at the same time, there was good cinema in your father's time, and there's good cinema in your children's time.
Yeah, I was the one who
You were the guy who got caught in between.
I did tough. Thank you.
So, let me come to Karishma, who I think is actually, in the Kapoor story, for me, the really path-breaking person. The fact that the truism went that the Kapoors didn't let the women in their family act. And then along came Karishma Kapoor, and she acted like nobody had acted before, and she danced like nobody had danced before, and she was a star. You got to tell us. And I know for a fact that there must have been a great deal of struggle in making that leap. Why don't you share with this audience today, now that you've actually done the full journey, you probably struggled to make the leap, you made the leap, you've tasted the success, and then you left it behind. How difficult was it, being a Kapoor girl, to actually enter cinema and take the center stage the way you took it?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say that this is a myth that the Kapoor women are not allowed to act in films.
Because you're sitting between 2 Kapoor men. Yeah.
No, it's a fact.
My wife was an actress.
Yes.
My brother's wife is an actress. My uncle's wives were actors.
Absolutely, exactly. I think all the Kapoor men married actresses. And out of choice, I think my mum and Neetu auntie chose not to do films after they got married. I don't think many people are aware that Geeta Bali ji and Jennifer auntie did work after marriage because they chose to do that. And I think it just became this whole thing when after generations, there was another girl, who wanted to join movies. My aunts got married young, one of them. The other was not interested in films. So it just became that, the Kapoor girls cannot act and are not allowed to. And I think my grandfather always encouraged me, even though I was very young. And he would be like, I know you may do this. And if you do, you have to work really hard and be very strong. It's not going to be easy. So in fact, it's his advice that I followed, I think, all those years. So it's been a complete myth.
So, no, that's wonderful that we are busting a myth here. So are you saying that when you decided to actually become an actress...
Obviously at that time, my parents were wary. I think the whole family was because, after so many generations, after such a long gap, a female was going to become an actress and stuff like that. But I think they were very supportive. And in those days, there wasn't that much media, so nobody really knew that the fact is that we were allowed to, and they did give... I think I have their blessings, and I did have their blessings. That's why I went such a long way, if I may say so.
Ranbir, many would say that after the kind of centrality that Raj Kapoor enjoyed in Indian cinema as an actor, that you are probably among the Kapoors well poised, if you aren't already doing that, well poised to get a kind of central position in Bollywood as an actor. What I want to know from you is, how conscious were you of the burden of being a Kapoor? At what age did you become cognizant of the fact that you had an inheritance and that you had to act upon that inheritance? And how difficult was that, dealing with the fact that you needed to be a kind of Kapoor and a kind of person in this country?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having us here. To begin with, to me, I never looked at my family as a family of actors and, celebrities and stars. I grew up like a normal kid growing up in a family, going to school. I think it all started, I remember, when my report card used to come. And me and a friend of mine, we used to be crying because we used to be scared, we have to show it to our parents, what are they going to do? And my friend, we both were probably the last 4 ranked students. So we both were crying, and he hit me and said, "What are you crying for? You two have to become an actor. You don't need to study. I want to become a doctor." So there it, I guess, first time hit me that, maybe I don't have to study too much to become an actor. So it started there. But, this thing, when I started acting, people said, there's a responsibility, there's pressure, there's expectation. You can't think of all that. I am here to make a name for myself. If I need to carry a legacy forward, I can do it with only my intelligence, my talent, my vision. I can't really rest on the laurels of the achievements of my father and my forefathers. We all are pretty much the same, just born at different times. If I can make a silly comparison, it's like the Apple iPhone. The first generation being my great-grandfather, second, my grandfather, third, fourth. So it's pretty much the same phone. They're just making us buy the same instrument, just slimmer, I guess.
The customers are still the same. In your own family, Karishma, who's the favorite actor that you look to draw inspiration from within the family?
Oh my God, I don't think I can name one.
You've got to answer that, come on.
No, but definitely I think my grandfather, I think he's the eternal inspiration. Definitely, then of course, Chintu uncle. And Kareena and Ranbir, I think Ranbir's choice in cinema, Kareena's choice today, they're very bold in their choices. I think they've done different things. And what's interesting to know is that when I worked, like Chintu uncle said, in those days there used to be lost and found. In my days it used to be kitne gaane, heroine ka kitne gaane, and am I in the climax? Or climax gana hai kya? So, from that, doing films like that and dancing, my way through, and, doing films like Fiza and Zubaida and Shakti and BV Number 1, films that were written for an actress. I think in that sense I saw that growth. So I think it's been an incredible journey for all our entire family in different ways.
Were you also terrible at school?
Well, not as bad as maybe Ranbir. Definitely not.
You notice I didn't ask you that, Rishi, because I know you were.
What was that?
Terrible in school.
No, I was not terrible. I was just not a student, I was not there. I'll tell you a story. My father was casting Malayalam Joker. And one evening, we were having dinner over the table. My father asked my mother, Krishna, my mother's name is Krishna. Krishna, can I take Chintu to play the young Joker in Malayalam Joker? So my mother was flummoxed. She didn't know what to say. As long as, it doesn't interfere in studies, I think you should okay. Cut to me, andar mere patake phut rahe hain. I'm going to get a chance to act in a film. Anyway, but I'm very cool about the whole thing. So I just excuse myself. I go to my bedroom. I've heard that. I sit on my desk, very calmly, open the drawer, take out a full scap sheet, and I immediately started practicing my autograph. So that's the student for you. So that's the student for you.
Well, I think, in a certain way, I think literally acting is in our blood. I think we've grown up in this atmosphere where movies were such a passion. And to a certain extent in our homes, over dinner, I think films have been discussed.
Has
movies,
any
careers.
of you three sitting here been to acting classes?
Pardon me?
You have?
Yeah.
It shows. No. You seem to be concerned about your roles more than probably the two of them are you?
No, I didn't. Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't like going to school. So my parents wanted me to go live abroad. I guess, when you grow up in a protected family, it's always good to get out, see exposure in the world, meet people from different cultures. You get a little bit more confident, a little bit more responsible. So acting school was just an excuse. It was just the idea of getting out and doing wrong things.
Your father has this wonderful air of irresponsibility about him. Why do you seem so responsible?
Thank you.
Well, I guess because he's sitting out here.
Okay, it's the father effect. You're making him conscious. He's behaving himself. Huh? Were you like that?
एक दोस्त ने मुझे अच्छी बात बोली कि आजकल बेटे पैदा नहीं होते हैं, बाप पैदा होते हैं. बाप है सब.
I think today's generation is very responsible.
Karishma, your mother was an actress also, and we all remember Kal Aaj Aur Kal. We all sort of grew up sort of listening to those songs, yeah. Has she also been a great influence on you as an actress?
Well, I think generally she's been a great influence to me. I think my family values, my upbringing, whatever, I think is got to do with her. So it's not only acting, I think it's generally the way we were brought up.
I'm trying to get here at something, Rishi, and you've got to help me get here at this. There is a clear diminution of the role that all of you play in cinema after Raj Kapoor. Nobody has that expanse in the way they embrace cinema like Raj Kapoor did. And I'm a diehard fan of his films, right from R and R, and I've seen everything right till probably not the very last ones, but all the way through his various phases. And there are those concealed masterpieces like Boot Polish and all, which I'm told he finally directed himself because they didn't get it right the first time. There is this incredible landscape of concerns he deals with, his social concerns, emotional concerns. He's engaged in a very deep way, and both with the craft, where he's, as I said, he's a writer, he's a director, he's the actor. I know he was a fantastic virtual composer himself. He used to sit on the songs. And he's got engaged with the outside world, because many of the films he makes, Tisri Kasam, Phaneshwara Renu's short story, he's making all this. But one doesn't see that with any of you. Is there a loss there that none of you have actually extended that legacy of Raj Kapoor's?
See, what you're talking about is, yes, absolutely correct. You're talking about Raj Kapoor, the filmmaker. Unfortunately, none of us have been able to match, because we weren't, I did direct one film, but we didn't make film. I'm very hopeful that one day his grandson Ranveer will take up the mantle, probably she would take up the mantle. But yes, Raj Kapoor was an enigma, he was one of its kind. So obviously you were right. We could not match up to Raj Kapoor, but we are in our own way as actors trying to inch ahead, trying to take the Kapoor dynasty till wherever and whenever you can. So,
can I indulge myself, since I've got all three of you here, and ask you to just tell me, you first of all, what's your greatest memories of your father as a filmmaker? Your personal memories of him.
There are several, I'll tell you one which I do remember, which is there in my so-called biography that will be written. I did tell Javed Saab this, that when he was directing me in Prem Rog, I've done 3 films with Raj Kapoor. Mera Naam Joker, Bobby, and Prem Rog, which is the highest after Nargis Ji, because she also probably worked in 4 films, I did 3. I was working in Prem Rog, and he was directing me. And there was this scene where I'm supposed to be looking like a, hurt lover. And I just couldn't get it right. And he used to tell me, Chantu, mujhe Yusuf chahiye, Yusuf in your looks. Now, Yusuf is Dilip Kumar, his immediate contemporary. He used to tell the director Raj Kapoor was talking about, he was complimenting Dilip Kumar, I want Dilip Kumar's look in your eyes, I want that. So I said, wow, what a thing to say. He was complimenting his colleague. So I do remember that incident has stayed with me.
Was he, because he was so obsessed with cinema, I mean, he's truly iconic.
He's very passionate about cinema, very, very passionate.
Was he a very missing father for you?
Sorry?
Was he missing as a father most of the time?
See, I didn't have a relationship calling him Papa, Daddy, Bauji, or anything on the sets. I used to call him Sahab because everybody used to call him Sahab. Likewise, when I work in films, I have all kids now working with me, so they want to address me as uncle. I said, no uncle business. It's got to be Rishi, Chintuji, Rishi, but no uncle. So I didn't call my father, that way. So we called him Saab. So that way, I was just like father and son relationship. We were probably at home. That's how Ranbir probably says so also. I didn't have a friendly father and son relationship. That's why probably I don't have a friendly family, a father and son relationship with him. I mean, we love each other. There is this bonding, but perhaps somewhere there that is missing, and I don't know why.
When you need some acting tips, Ranbir, do you talk to your father or your mother?
To be honest, I'm really embarrassed about my mother's movies. I don't like her romancing other heroes except him. So
I have to say that the great blockbuster of my school years was a film called Khel Khel Mein,
yes.
which I think is still an incredible film, the best of its kind, yeah. And they were both terrific in it.
Right.
So that one you're allowed to watch.
Yeah, I mean, every film that she's done with him, I wouldn't mind, but, other heroes, there's a lot of hatred in me then. But coming back to, yes, he is my favorite actor, not just because he's my father.
Yeah, he's still staying with me, that's why he says that.
And he's sitting on the stage, but to be honest, it's all subconscious, I guess. There is never, a problem I've had on set or while reading a script or thinking at home that I could go to him and say, Papa, can you help me with this? One thing that my parents have done is that they've never interfered in my work or never tried to, push moralistic values or anything in life.
Do you
also.
discuss your films on the dining table at home?
Never. We never bring work home. At the same time, we're always talking about movies. But never like posing problems or posing achievements and stuff like that.
Do you discuss a script with them when you're at home?
With my mother, because I feel that a woman's instinct is the best instinct.
He's got it all taped up, boss.
I have no say in his creatives. And mostly people who know me, they all know about it. So all his choices are his. Scripts are his and girls are his.
Carry on, you were telling us about.
So never have gone to him for any tips, but I'm sure that, if I have a problem, I can always depend on that gene.
If I'm not wrong, and I could be, I'm just trying to recall whether I read it somewhere many years ago, that you said you got more and more, going to come back to your grandfather, obsessed with his films as you got into your teens, and you had posters of him up in your rooms, and you were trying to kind of imbibe a lot of what his work was about. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. And not just his, also Mr. Mehboob Khan, Mr. Bimal Roy, Guru Dutt. I guess my father mentioned this to me before I became an actor, is that if you're getting into the film industry, you have to really know where it all started from. You can't really watch foreign movies and Hollywood films and just become an Indian film actor. So I guess I sat home for like 2 years, watched every Hindi movie that was made, 50s onwards, and I guess that's where my bearings started. That's where I really got rooted in Indian cinema, and that's where really, the passion and the love started.
So again, the same question. So what's your favorite Kapoor film? What's the favorite Kapoor film?
Well, for me, it would be Kala Jorkal, because my entire family is in it. Mother, father, grandfather, great-grandfather.
Chacha was assistant.
Okay,
I was
Chacha's assistant. So it's a family film, so definitely.
For you, Ranbir?
Mine would be Shri 420. I think Mr. Raj Kapoor's greatest quality was that he could sell a smile. And I think in times like those and times like today, I think that's the best thing to sell to an audience.
The question that I posed to your dad, I now pose to you. Why do you think, in a real sense, nobody has been able to be as expansive and embracing as Raj Kapoor was? Like I said, now I'm talking to 3 actors. None of you are concerned with the business of filmmaking beyond acting. Why has this shrinkage, this kind of shrinkage taken place?
Well, I disagree with you. I guess we have a disadvantage because we already have a benchmark there. He didn't have a benchmark before him. He became a filmmaker at 21. So I guess, I have aspirations to make movies. Of course, I know I won't be able to reach where he, what all he has achieved. But I also want to say that don't discourage me. Maybe one day I can reach that.
Karishma, you've now moved away from cinema, and now it seems you're making a slow comeback. Tell us a little bit about this planned comeback.
Well, honestly, like I've always said, I think this word is highly overrated and very unfair to actors, especially female actors. I think when anyone in the office, your secretary is, has a baby and comes back, you don't say, oh, she's making a comeback to the office. She's arriving. She's back. Let's see what she's going to do now.
All I can say on behalf of most people here is you look all ready for a comeback. So
But it's not that. I think I'd like to work, but at my own pace because I have two small young children. And as and when I like a script, I'm interested in doing something, I do it. If not, no pressure.
Is there something that's fundamentally changed in the way you address scripts now versus the way you did when you were acting full time?
Well, absolutely. I think, of course, the comfort level needs to be there. And the person I'm working with should, understand that, I'm a mom and, they're going to be like hours, which I think now the industry has really changed a lot. And lets us do that. So that's really nice. And the script should interest me. I'm not just going to do, I could, sign 3 films tomorrow and just be busy, but I don't want to do that. So it's out of choice.
And what's the next movie you've signed on? Is there a movie?
Well, next year, not this year. I'm reading scripts. I'm going to decide something next year.
Ranbir, the recent film you did was a film called Barfi. It got a fair amount of critical acclaim. Saw that film too. I'm not too sure how good the film was. You were very good in it. What was it about that film that you chose that? Because you've always obviously put in a great deal of effort into essaying that role. It meant inhabiting a kind of character for over a long period of time. Why did you choose a film like that?
So I can't really, pinpoint one reason why I chose that. I always believe that we actors get too much of credit when a film does well. We say, oh, what a choice he made and what an intelligent person he is.
Okay, let me rephrase that. How do you choose a script? Because there is already this buzz that you choose your scripts well among most actors, that you're already very, very conscious of the way you pick your scripts. It's not like your dad was saying, we just had 2.5 storylines and we kept picking them because there was no choice. We picked one and we picked 2 and then we picked one again. How do you pick your scripts?
I think it's instinct. And where I am concerned, I've done 9 films now. I have 9 releases. What's really worked for me is when I pick a person. I think when a person has something to say, it's far more greater when you just have a good some good English on a piece of paper. So I've been really lucky because I've worked with wonderful directors, wonderful cameramen, wonderful cast and crew. And I think that's really instrumental in an actor's growth. So I think choosing people is far greater than choosing a script.
Were you not a Kapoor? How difficult do you think it would have been for you to arrive where you arrived today?
Well, yes, since the time I started, I've always heard this, okay, I've been born with a silver spoon in my mouth. So I guess, you have 2 options. You either, hold your mouth really tight so the spoon doesn't come out, or you quickly learn how to eat with your hands. I thought about this before starting out. I knew that my first film would be, I would get it far easier than somebody who's not from a film family. But after that, I guess you have to, be intelligent, you have to make smart choices. And I think 90% of it depends on luck. So I've been really lucky so far.
I want to add something to that. Like everyone thinks it's very easy, for a star child to enter movies. Yes, maybe to enter and get a break. But after that, really not, because there is so much expectation. From a regular newcomer, the audience will be like, not bad, yeah, like he's dancing so well, acting so well. But I think with me or Ranbir or Kareena or any star child out there, there's always a lot of added pressure because of your parents and family.
So tell us a little bit about your early days when you made your first few films. What was the kind of, what were you up against in terms of fulfilling both your own expectations and that of being a Kapoor?
Well, honestly, I think, it was quite tough, because in those days, like, a lot of people were not very accepting, even though the movie did really well. But it was like, oh, she's come into the films, how's it going to be, and, stuff like that. So it was a tough ride. But I was ready for that, and I was prepared for that. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to act more for anything else. It was purely for the love of acting. I think that's the thing that we all have, that we just love to act. So, and I was ready for it. So.
Do you think your dad is a better actor or your chacha?
How can I answer that? But genuinely, honestly, definitely.
You're meant to be kind to him. You're meant to say, yes, he is. Rishi, you've been taking on some really meaty roles recently.
Let me answer you this question again. Hang on, we'll come to that. I'll tell you what. I'll use the word star, though I hate the word star. I became actor star or star actor by default. I'll tell you why by default. Raj Kapoor was nursing the wounds of the failure of Mera Naam Joker, so he had to make a successful film. Our studio was, everything was mortgage and everything. We had to have a successful film to get out of it. Until that point of time, Raj Kapoor didn't even have a roof over his wife and his children. We didn't have a house also of our own till that time. So at that point of time, any star would do anything to work with Raj Kapoor as a director. But he chose to make a film which he was inspired by the comics he used to take from me. He used to share the Archie comics from me and read them. And he was inspired to make a young love story. And he made Bobby. And Bobby was a story which introduced two newcomers, Dimple and myself. And actually, Dimple, who was the one who actually played the title role. I just happened to be in the film. I became a star by default. She got married, she left the industry. I took all the benefit. So that's how I was not, you can't say the proverbial that I was the child with the golden spoon. No, there was no spoon. I was just by luck. Like my little darling, make a film, luck by chance. It happens by luck by chance. And in the case of Ranbir, his first film is a flop. Sawariya was a flop film. He didn't get recommended by me to Sanjay Bhansali to take him. As a matter of fact, when he came back from America, he on his own went to Bhansali's office, sat there outside for a couple of hours, wanting an interview with him. He had his resume with him. And then when he got to know that he is Raj Kapoor's grandson, he immediately said, yes, you could assist me on Black. And thereafter, probably he must have seen something in Ranbir and Sonam. He took both of them, and he made his first film that was a failure. So there has been no real Kapoor, tag with him that he became an actor or a star just because he's a Kapoor. He fought for it. We have all labored for it, not because we are Kapoors, that's why we are here. There are certain Kapoors who didn't make it as well. So we want that bit. हमारा भी हक चाहिए हमें. ये नहीं कि हम कपूर हैं तो हम स्टार बन गए. So that's it.
That you reminded me of an important question. Why did you make such an awful choice as Sawariya as your first film?
He didn't have an option. He didn't have an option.
Well, I believed in the film. I assisted Mr. Bhansali in a film called Black. So somewhere he became my godfather, even though I didn't need one. So I believed in what he was making, and I still stand by it, even though it didn't work at the box office.
Back to you, Rishi. I was going to ask you. You started taking on these meteor roles. Now you did Agnipath, where you played this incredible character. That was fantastic. That was very good. and that was the only real redeeming feature of that whole film. I have to tell you, you were terrific.
Yeah, you're a pal, yeah. You're a pal.
So. Are you trying to, in some sense, now recast, this decade of your acting career by trying to look at kinds of roles which you can play now?
See, times have changed. Earlier, a couple of years back, actors my age never found any work. It's sad, but unfortunately, I think Hindi cinema is all about youth, all about singing songs, romancing. We have grown. We are now coming out. The multiplex culture is extending its boundaries. Obviously, the sensibilities of people who can afford a ticket for 200 rupees plus don't have the same sensibility who's driving a rickshaw. So they want to see better cinema, which has better characters, older characters, not only just romancing, not only singing songs. So I guess the parameters have opened up. People are making, like I said, choices. They have different kind of cinema. So that's how I'm getting these kind of roles. It's not that suddenly they fell in my lap. It just happened and I'm lucky to get them.
We're running out of time. I'm going to ask each of you this question. Do you believe, as many people do, that actually Indian cinema in many ways has regressed in terms of its content since the 1950s?
See, like I said...
let me finish. That it is in many ways an infantile cinema. You yourself just said, there's a kind of thing Indian cinema demands. It demands song and dance. She said that, you said that. it has 2.5 stories, you run around the same 2.5 stories. Is there a problem, considering that we are the biggest consumers of cinema and the biggest makers of cinema in the world, that fundamentally Indian cinema still struggles to grapple with a lot of the real issues that bedevil this country? It remains fundamentally an infantile entertainment medium. Is that true? What do you, let me start with Ranbir.
Oh, well, sir, it is cinema. You know, if they want the truth, they have your magazine, they have news channels, you know, which represent the truth very well. So we are in a medium of entertainment. When people come to the theater, they want to forget their worries. You know, there's so many people, like Dibakar Banerjee, a director, once told me, and he said that, you know, when he used to, before becoming a director, he used to travel by train, and he used to see that women going to office used to put a thali on their lap, cut vegetables, go to office, finish their work, return in the train, continue cutting, go home and cook food. So when they want to go, you know, to a cinema with their family, they don't want to really see problems. You know, they want to forget it. They want to idolize. They want to see something which is out of the ordinary. You know, they want to hero worship somebody. So I think we are in a great place today that we have parallel things going on. When you have a Rowdy Rathod making, you know, 140 crores at the box office, you know, you also have a English Winglish, you have a Barfi, you have a Oh My God, also making money at the box office. So this is entertainment, you know, so let's just stick to entertaining people.
Would you agree with what Ranbir has said? In terms of, I'm again going to posit it as versus Western cinema, which has very refined engagements with a whole score of issues. And, you know, every year, 20 films will come out of the West, which have far deeper engagements and which seek much more out of their audiences than we seem to seek. And I'm saying, are we trapped in a kind of cycle where cinema continues to cater to a very infantile kind of sentiment?
Well, you know, I agree with Ranbir that, you know, the audience is going through so much that when they go to the theater, they want to get entertained. But I think things are changing and evolving. And I think we all, you know, there's an educated audience out there. But at the same time, I think our Indian emotions and sentiments kind of remain as they used to be. Like, the audience still likes to see the struggling one emerge victorious. And they still want to see the Nach Gana and the song. So all that is going to remain for time and memorial. I don't think that is going to change. It's like our Indian sentiments and emotions. I mean, what I may feel as a mother is probably the same thing that what my grandmother feels or any Indian woman feels. So those kind of things are never going to change.
Before I give the last word to Rishi, this is to the both of you. Is there any ways that you imagine you will be able to extend the legacy of what you inherited? I mean, is that something that you think about at all? How can I expand and amplify this legacy of cinema that we are inheritors to?
Well, I think all of us in our own way, it's not about expanding it. I think we're trying to contribute to it in our own way. I must tell you all a story that when I was young, like maybe my daughter's age, like 7, 8 years old, I remember going to R.K studios on a Sunday, you know, with the family. And I remember my grandfather was shooting for Ram Teri Ganga Meli in those big Haveli sets, you know. And I was just standing there thinking, it was the first time it dawned on me, and there was a trolley shot, that, oh my God, you know, my entire family, they're all actors. Can I also one day grow up and kind of contribute to this? Will I be able to do it? So I remember, you know, I think so, in our own way, we're trying to just add something to it, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Ranbir?
Well, I think the best way is not to be conscious about it. Yes, you have a responsibility and you carry on with your life with a certain amount of dignity and responsibility. But I am here for myself. You know, if I work for myself, if I try and make my own choices without being conscious about what my family's done and trying and being oversensitive, oh, will my father approve of this, or will my grandfather, you know, will say shame on you from, you know, up there. If I just do things that I believe in, I think I will contribute. So I guess you just have to be selfish, intelligent, greedy, and hardworking.
Rishi, so be the great entertainer you are and sum up for this audience what the Kapoors are and mean to India.
Well, thank you very much for patiently listening to us. We are a bunch of clowns, but we really have a heart beating for you guys.
Thank
and
you,
you can hear the bell ringing.
Thank you, Rishi. Thank you, Karishma.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ranbir. Let's give them a silence.